Patrick Cook here. So welcome to session number 13 of our tutorial series entitled Fun with Mandelbulb3D Mutations. In that last session, we were talking about the strength sliders. All right, quick review. All the way to the left is minimum strength. All the way to the right is maximum strength. The strength is the degree to which the option will be applied. If the option is all the way to the left, it's disabled, and the strength is irrelevant. If the option is all the way to the right, it's at full probability, in which case the strength will cut in. If the option is in the middle somewhere, then you have a higher probability than none and a lower probability than max. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. And your strength obviously will apply. Again, if the strength is in the middle, then you have more than no strength and less than full strength. All right. And again, we don't have any indicators. There's no numbers. We have no way of knowing what any of this means other than it is the relative amount. It's the relative amount of the probability and the relative amount of the strength. Okay? When you disable all of the probabilities are turned off, effectively zero. The strength has no bearing whatsoever. All right. Now, up here, you'll notice here, exchange, add, and remove formulas. There is no strength. Well, the reason for that is pretty straightforward. This is an add, exchange, remove situation. Kind of think of it as a Boolean. It either happens or it doesn't happen. There is no degree to which it happens. All right. So it happens or it doesn't happen. Okay. Now down here, you actually have values that are being applied, in this case, in the properties. So you have a value, and that value could be very low, the value could be very high. The change Julia mode is also is changing values right in here. Okay. And the iteration count is also changing values right here. Okay, so the reason that you don't have a strength there is because you're not modifying any values. You're modifying state, the state of these formula assignments. All right, either the formula is assigned to it or it's not assigned to it. It's a state. So that's why there's no strength. All right, here. All right. Okay. So, so we have covered all of the functions on the MutaGen. All right. And I think you're in pretty good shape now to really be able to utilize this MutaGen in a powerful way. So let's do this. Let's send this guy back up to the main, and we got a nice base simple formula that we're working with. I'm going to go all the way to the last generation, clear everything. Yes. All right. So I have now, let's punch that, and there we go. So I got a nice clean environment here. Now, let's think about how we're going to utilize this MutaGen for creativity. All right? That's what we want to talk about now. How do we actually utilize this MutaGen for creativity? So let's see if we can demonstrate it. All right, so what I've done here is I'm starting with a nice simple formula construct. The construct is alternate. There's nothing to alternate. There's only one formula. I got one formula. It's integer power. Integer power only has two properties. Okay? But what I want to do is I want to I want to engage in discovery. And that's what the MutaGen is going to do for me. It's going to engage in discovery. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to think about, what do I want? Do I want to radically modify this Mandelbulb object? So, because I'm searching for what really cool stuff I can get out of this Mandelbulb3D fractal generator. Or am I interested in modifying this graphic slightly because I like the graphic? Let's just say I like it, and I want to modify it slightly. So there's really two decisions you want to make in terms of using the MutaGen. Are you in a discovery mode, or are you in a or are you on a track of trying to use a Mandelbulb object that you like? Now, I'll give you two examples of that. If I were to go get somebody else's Mandelbulb, and I like what I saw, I could use the MutaGen to slightly modify it so that I'm not using somebody else's work, and I'm deriving something new from somebody else's work. All right. In that case, I would want to make small, subtle changes to that Mandelbulb object. If, on the other hand, I was in the mode to discover something brand new that I've never seen before, then I would use the maximum capabilities of my MutaGen. Now, when I say minimum, I'm talking about all these probabilities are turned way down, not off, but way down, like this, way down, okay, like that. And the strengths are turned down pretty far too. This is the minimum. This is a minimum now. So I've got really, really small changes here. Let's mutate these. It goes along pretty quick because it's not making massive changes to the formula constructs of each of these mutations. All right, but now here. So I've got a nice subtle modification here. Each of these mutations are not too far removed. This one here got pretty weird. That's pretty interesting, but that's probably because I had a formula swap out. So anyway, the point I'm making is that when you set your options here so that they're low, the probability is low, the strength is low, what you're doing is you're saying, I kind of like the graphic that I'm starting with, but I want to find a little bit more interesting, but I don't want it to get too radical. Now let's get radical. All right, so that's generation number 3. Remember that, because we can back up and we can look at this generation. I'm going to disable all these. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to get really crazy. I'm going to turn up all of these options. There we go. Everything is super max. Maximum probability, maximum strength. Now when I mutate this, now it's going to take longer because it's got more processing to do. But you can already begin to see that each of these mutations is radical. So radical that it actually crashed the application. All right, now, okay. Yeah, okay, here we go. I'm gonna show you something real quick here. All right, look at this. All right, here we go. Macon 3D formula is missing. Check any directory for formulas. General formula is missing. Check in any directory. Look at that. So what happened is that these formulas were set to such a great probabilities value that the MutaGen actually reached out and tried to assign a formula that didn't exist. In other words, it doesn't exist in my Mandelbulb installation. All right, and it tried to do it here, is missing. It tried to do it again, is missing. The reason that I had that error is because the MutaGen was trying to assign formulas that don't exist. That is, unfortunately, the nature of the beast. This MutaGen is not intelligent enough to say, look, go check the formula if the formula exists first before you try to assign it. The MutaGen is not that well designed. All right? So what it did, and this is probably these two right here, these green mutations, these are basically formula situations that errored. All right? So that's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's the nature of the beast. That's what happens. And when that happens, you're stopped in your track. Now, let me just add this. When that happens, what I do is I restart the application. I restart the application because I don't trust it anymore. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to close the Mandelbulb, and I will see you in the next session, and we'll continue our discussion of the MutaGen. I'll see you there.